Hi, Dr. Wick. I thought I would just give you a preview of the course myself through this video. So this is the home page of the NOCCCD, Study Abroad Training for Faculty. And it kind of goes over some of the basics of our study abroad program learning outcomes, some of which I think we need to revise, and kind of explains how they can navigate through here. So when we start at the beginning, I included an acknowledgement page because, like I had said, I knew I'd be using some materials from Diversity Abroad. But then I built some modules out, and I kind of started thinking about the 4 aspects of this also in terms of the whole process. And when I think of access, I really was thinking about the recruitment process for our program. And then as I moved into diversity, it seemed to come in line with the planning of their study abroad program before they leave. And then I focused inclusive excellence for actually developing practices once they're on the study abroad program or thinking about things they can do on the study abroad program. So let me kind of give you an overview. So the first page is usually some background information on access. I am still looking for a video maybe about Fullerton College that might be good to remind the faculty kind of, who we are, but it's also Cypress College, so I'm still looking for that. But we shared some of our data from our study abroad enrollment, as well as those who expressed interest, and this was from the sabbatical one of our colleagues did. And so then I wanted faculty really to look at who was in their own course, and our Office of Institutional Effectiveness, they provide kind of a data profile of our course. But what I thought was interesting is, although this can be helpful and informative, it also doesn't tell us who's not in the class. So this assignment was to get them to look at those things and help them understand their audience better so that we can begin thinking about how to better recruit, and so that we're recruiting everyone in our class. So that's kind of what this first assignment focuses on. The other thing is Fullerton College, Cypress College is a serving Hispanic institution. And so we know that that's a large population of our students. So I integrated the reading. We just don't have the possibility yet, Latino narratives on study abroad. And I thought if they look at the 3 students who describe their experiences, how could we maybe become better equipped to address those concerns? So this was the second assignment in this module. And then their first discussion board was talking about questions that maybe might come up at an information session from first generation students and maybe their families. So the idea being that I have 13 faculty that are going to be leading study abroad programs between now and 2024, hopefully, fingers crossed. And so this whole cohort would go through this course. So this could be their first discussion. And then I also thought it might be interesting for them to consider, because this came up a lot, that often white females and probably white males too are a first-time minority on study abroad experiences. So maybe having a short discussion about how they could talk about that in terms of the pre-departure orientation. So maybe we can do a better job of kind of being out front of this before we even go and in the recruitment process. So the next part in this module is the partner discussion, because as I shared with you, I felt this was very useful in our certificate program, and the majority of our programs are led by 2 faculty. And so the value of them discussing these ideas before they lead the program, I think will be really good. And then I'll probably end up partnering the summer people because they lead alone, or work with the summer person myself because I'm usually the support person on the ground for them. So that's their partner discussion, where they kind of look at their own personal expertise, like you had suggested, about being a college instructor and what they've already know about our students and how they can bring those situations that they've already experienced in the classroom and think about how those might come up on study abroad. Because I think for our faculty, anticipating things has been one of the difficulties in some of the issues we've had to deal with once we were abroad. So this partner discussion is kind of focused on that. All right, then in the diversity module, I did integrate a lot of the different videos and some of the materials from our certificate because I feel like they were very good in terms of things that I feel our faculty need. And then I can't seem to get to the button to move us forward. Sorry about that. There's going to be a long pause there. Anyway, the next part is the third discussion, and I gave credit here to Diversity Abroad because this also was some ideas and things that came out of the materials in our program, but having them talk about the whole experience for students and again, first looking at their own experience they're bringing as an instructor, and then how does their actual curriculum address the value of diversity. Because one of our study abroad program outcomes is, helping students understand the United States values and versus their own country's values. So I think giving faculty the opportunity to think about this in terms of diversity would be one that would be great to discuss once they're actually in the field. So here's another assignment. This was more on helping students develop their intercultural competency. I know that's our high Maslow goal, but again, maybe working with faculty ahead of time so that they can be very intentional about this would be good. So asking them to identify topics or issues related to race and ethnicity that are already in their courses that they plan to teach abroad, and explain how it's related to that, and then tie it back to our program outcomes. So, because that's one thing faculty need to do is they have to look at their own course study abroad outcomes and then also how they'll meet our program learning outcomes. All right. And then the partner discussion for diversity is to then get them looking at those same assignments and seeing how they complement or overlap or how they might diverge, and also then getting them to talk ahead of time as a team about how those diversity concepts might come up when they're actually out on excursions or in the city or taking the students out into one of the activities. And so I'm hoping the partners can talk about this and then write a synopsis that would be posted in the Canvas course so that the other program faculty can then come back in and review these partner discussions, because I'm sure what the team does in Japan might be very different than what is done in Rome, but some of the learning outcomes may be the same, or the concepts about race and ethnicity could overlap. And I know some of our faculty have a little bit more training in this than others, so their experience will play into that. And then when we get to the end of this module, I just included a lot of the readings that we had in our certificate because I think they're really valuable. And so let's see, I'm going to have to go this way because I can't get past it. So I appreciate your patience. In inclusive practices, I'm thinking now more of them focusing on what they'll be doing once they are abroad and really kind of being intentional about the design of their program and changing up their assignments because we really want them to use the location as much as possible. So having them think about their own story and their own experiences, and then think about how they're going to use the study abroad experience to develop students intellectually and be as inclusive as possible about those experiences, and see how we can incorporate them. And for this discussion, I really liked this quote that was part of the article Towards a Model of Inclusive Excellence that talked about what it means to have diversity in higher education and how we need to be so intentional to help students be better equipped for jobs in the post-college, right? And so, again, use the Vera Myers lecture, and hoping that when she has a bullet list of different ways to be inclusive, that they could write and share an experience that would have that. And then our practice assignment, this might be a long shot, so I might have to test this out on my faculty, but I really love this Pixar short. But instead of thinking of it as, Pearl going into a workplace, could the workplace environment really be our study abroad environment? Because it's very foreign, it's very new. There may be experiences that where the students experience being excluded or not knowing how to fit in because it's such a different culture. And so that's what their journal assignment was, is could we see this short film as an analogy for students experiencing that culture shock or, some of the other things that I said might make them feel not as included. And, okay, this is really getting long, but this is the partner discussion, again, about their inclusive assignments. So, and I kind of brought in the idea you talked about, greater challenge, greater problems. So how can their own experience leading groups and focusing on the interpersonal and intrapersonal activities? Because I think if we front load more of this, we might have less issues abroad. So this partner discussion in terms of inclusivity is to really help them hone in on developing both parts of the student so that maybe as they do more of these types of activities, the entire experience on study abroad will become more inclusive. And there we go, another reading. And the last one is non-apparent disabilities and using The World Awaits You and kind of helping them to look through things they might not see and talk about challenges. Again, they're going to already have had some of these being tenured faculty at our district, and maybe how they might think about this in terms of helping students prepare prior to departure and in country, as well as, like I said, upon re-entry. Okay, so that brings us to the end. I didn't get to the equity module yet. I have a couple of things in there, but I think that's going to be something I'll have to develop as we go along, because this is the part that I really feel like is the high impact, high challenge, and where I want to do more with my faculty about mental health and non-apparent disabilities and some of the disciplinary issue. And I think that's going to just take more time than I have right now. But I do want to show you, so a couple of things. There's the final assignment, which I'll review with you, and then I've added in some resources. These are country profiles I got from AIFS, and they kind of talk about all the possible identities and backgrounds that pertain to those countries. And they were written by people from AIFS that are on the ground in those countries. And then I've just been listing some resources. So let me wrap this up for you quickly. This is the faculty reflection, the final assignment I'm thinking. And again, this is how I thought I'll finally get around to our study abroad classroom pitch. And having them think now about, having completed the assignment, how could they create a hook that's emphasis is on fun and personal drive, something in the pitch that would emphasize the value of self-discovery. I'm hoping they could think specifically about examples to use when they're talking to the students that would speak to 3 of our student populations, and I'll let the faculty members identify which 3 they chose and what they said, why they think it would kind of go to that population, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking this would be something they complete, and then we have a whole group, debrief on it. Maybe they give their pitch and we can critique them, or we can steal things from them. But I also want them to talk about their own courses and how it would align with the students' personal educational goals. And emphasizing your idea, how is study abroad a partnership? How are these faculty going to partner with the students towards supporting them in their personal and professional goals? And also I thought maybe use one example of how study abroad can be a personal challenge. So that might motivate them to consider it and take that challenge on. So this would be the first part of the final assignment, is the study abroad pitch. And then the last thing was, I'm hoping that we can start building a resource and a set of materials for our faculty. So I created like a sample page for students that are first generation students. And then what I want them to do is do the same. Pick another population of student on our campus and create a student resource page that we can eventually put into a Canvas module for our students. So that's their final assignment, and I